The Public Protector has issued a statement saying she is disappointed with the leaking of a subpoena to Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan. The subpoena concerned questions about Minister Gordhan in his time as a SARS commissioner establishing a so-called rogue unit. For more on this, I'm joined by Deputy Public Protector Advocate Kevin Malunga. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Minister Gordhan's spokesperson said, and I'm quoting him, this clearly amounts to a persistent harassment of Minister Gordhan and a flagrant abuse of office.
Okay. Thank you, Nzinga, and good evening to the listeners. We are an institution supporting constitutional democracy, and a very humble institution at that, which abides by the laws of the Republic, the Constitution, right? We don't view ourselves to be above the law. Likewise, we were created to hold each and every member of the executive in this Republic accountable. We don't harass people. That's not what we do. We are an evidence-based institution. The Public Protector Act, which I have in front of me, says that we shall, on our own initiative or upon receipt of a complaint, investigate any alleged maladministration in connection with the affairs of state or any act or omission by a person holding public office. So, as I say humbly, humility is something that I want to emphasize today, because that's what we are about. We do our work as an evidence-based institution. We have a complaint currently brought by Mr. Floyd Shivambu of the Economic Freedom Fighters, and this is very normal that anybody, you yourself, Nzinga, can complain about each and anything and everything, about the alleged creation of the so-called rogue unit at SARS when the current minister was commissioner of the South African Revenue Service. So what we then do is that we receive a complaint, and then we then proceed and say to the person who is allegedly implicated there's a complaint against you. What say you? You bring the evidence, and then we have a very skilled coterie group of investigators who will then look at that evidence and those facts and so forth. Look at the facts. The same people who investigated Nkandla when it was still Advocate Madonsela are the same people who are investigating Pravin Gordhan under Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. We, as leaders of that institution, offer guidance. It's about the law, it's about evidence, it's not a thumb suck. So I think I'll say again, with great humility, that this is a very misguided statement from the spokesperson, because we don't harass people. We really merely hold them to account.
Just explain to us perhaps more in detail how the Public Protector's Office deals with complaints. I'm thinking on this issue, last year Judge Robert Nugent, in that Commission of Inquiry, his interim report said there was nothing illegal about the establishment of that so-called rogue unit. Perhaps he said acts afterwards may or may not have been legal, but the establishment, there was nothing wrong. Do you take things like this into account, or because that was from a Commission of Inquiry, it's not binding, so the Public Protector doesn't deal with things like that?
Look, the Constitution, quite rightly you point out that the Constitution makes it clear that we don't investigate court decisions. So we cannot investigate what Judge Nugent has said. But maladministration is the core business of the Public Protector. So you may find that, for example, a court may rule on issues of legality on something, but we find there is a maladministration issue, there's a corruption angle, or that's on that sort of thing. So that's what we are dealing with right now. So, you know, when these things are not rocket science. You have a complaint against you, you appear before the Public Protector. In fact, it's not an option. It's actually mandatory. And then you answer based on you answer to the complaint against you. You put the evidence that is and the facts, etc. And of course, we make a finding. We may exonerate you. We may issue a closing report, or we may issue adverse findings against you. So there's no need for. And I've said this before, there's no need for political office bearers and so forth to go to the media and, and get jashahara, as the old word in Afrikaans said. Don't, just relax. answer according to the law.
So sorry, my apologies. There's a perception that at times the Public Protector's Office can be used to fight so-called factional battles or to get back at people and play out political wars using your office.
Well, we've got an intake and assessment unit that looks at whether complaints are within mandate. So what you are alluding to may very well be the case, but that is not part of what we are doing. We look at cases based on whether they are within jurisdiction. Does the Public Protector have jurisdiction over the Commissioner of SARS? Yes. Does the Public Protector have jurisdiction over alleged maladministration or acts or omissions against the Commissioner of SARS that are irregular or amount to maladministration? The answer is yes. If at the end of the day we find that this is a vexatious or malicious complaint, we will issue a closing report. But it's very disingenuous and very mischievous for any public office bearer, for example, to suggest malicious motives. I've been on a panel with Mr. Gordhan, an anti-corruption panel. And he knows as well as I do that we are very much against corruption in this country. We release reports on corruption all the time. It's just that the media, unfortunately, has its darlings. Let me put it this way: it does not always focus on bread and butter issues. Sometimes these conspiracies are blown out of blown out of proportion. But the reality is, this is an institution based on law. And for example, if we issue a finding that is adverse against you, the Constitutional Court made it very clear that you can still take it on review, right? So there are so many trajectories and avenues in law that anybody can use. And I've highlighted, and our statement on Friday made it very clear that we have been investigating ministers, MECs, mayors, whatever, and we've investigated two presidents now, probably three actually, given previous public protectors. And none of them have been kicking and screaming and throwing their toys out of the cot. So what we are saying before, and we're still being nice, let me put it this way, we're still being very nice, because there are contempt proceedings that we can instigate in terms of Section 11 of the Public Protector Act. And we don't want to be pushed in that direction. We are still being nice in terms of the law. We are still inviting people nicely, humbly, and we are going to say, there is no malicious. In fact, as I said, if at the end of an investigation we absolve you, we just issue a closing report. This happens all the time. So I think, and let me address the media out there as well, because they can also be very mischievous and very. They don't read these things in a way that when they write these articles, they have these preconceived notions. Whereas this is a legally based process based on law and evidence. So what I would suggest is that as they write their articles, even for tomorrow morning's articles, use the law. Do a tick boxing, whatever exercise. And say, look, what areas of the law are alleged to have been infringed here? What is the public protector investigating? What is a possible outcome? Then that's a proper article. But when you start imputing malicious motives to legal processes which are in the Constitution of the Republic, that is really naughty. And unfortunately, it doesn't help things in terms of our work, because we issue hundreds, if not thousands, of reports. And I think maybe people should just go and sift and look at how many of those are finding adversely in terms of corruption and so forth. We are as busy with corruption, because that statement says this is undermining a fight back plan. That's absolute nonsense.
Okay, you've said that the media is sometimes too focused on certain issues, and you've also previously said that you focus on bread and butter issues and we only focus on the big scandal stories. Talk to us about those bread and butter issues, investigations that are currently happening there as we wrap up.
Look, I think it's a very large number. We've just started the issue of Alex, for example. Just this past week, we're going to be collaborating with the South African Human Rights Commission to actually get to the bottom of what happened in Alexandra. And of course, that may not be as big as this particular issue. These have been happening on the same week. So the point just has to be made. Of course, we also pursue conduct failure and corruption. Let me not undermine the extent to which we do that. But I think this statement is probably, it takes the institution back. That's what I'm saying. The same people who are investigating Nkandla, etc., under Advocate Madonsela, are the same people who are investigating this matter under Advocate Mkhwebane. So people must just relax. They must understand that this is an institution. These are qualified people who know what they're doing.
Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Deputy Public Protector Advocate Kevin Malunga speaking to us in studio there.